I'm Tod Waters. We're at artist-owned and operated Hardy Nance Studios in downtown Houston, Texas, and I'm gonna tell you guys kind of what influences me and how I got started. The important things I tell people about me, I guess, is, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I sculpt, I draw, and I make clothes and make music. Started out playing drums and then singing in bands, and then got into fashion after that. Pretty much what I've been doing since I was 16 until now. What I do is I got so much information when I was little from all these magazines. Heavy Metal magazine, and there was Creepy and Eerie magazine, these monster magazines when I was growing up. And also H.R. Giger, the guy that designed Alien. So I was kind of looking at all that stuff while watching Speed Racer and Robotech, Gotcha Man, and Battle of the Planets, or the regular cartoons when I was growing up. Strangely, when I was looking at all those magazines, I didn't care much about what the band's story was, but I did care about what was on the album cover and what the band looked like. I've always been interested in those visuals, as far as making my own music, how are you going to present your own band as far as the visuals, what does that mean about the band, and making it so when you do stuff like that, people are interested in trying to make up their own story. For instance, if you look at this sculpture here, there's tons of details, but for the most part, I don't make up a story. I think that's up for the viewer to kind of figure it out. Make up their own weird story, why this would have happened and who this guy is and what he does do and what he doesn't do. These pencil drawings, the DNA I think is the oldest. Here I actually did start writing scripts in my own comics because I didn't find the exact thing that I wanted, I guess, to see in comics. That's when I started developing these Zippernet Kid characters. So I've been working on that pretty much since '92. So I have a band called Die Fast. That's the first Die Fast album cover. So I was trying to get some rock and roll in the show too. This was some design work I did for a band called Visto Blanco. I directed a video for them. We wanted to have this monster. I was driving a truck. So that was the design work I did for that. And so all that stuff just feeds and ties into each other. By accident, I got into fashion, and that was in LA because I moved to LA because I didn't have anything to do in Houston. I helped my friend move a truck. But the first thing I ever sold was to Lenny Kravitz, was a vest with a big hand-printed cobra on the back. Trying to make some cool leather pants. I eventually made a pair of leather pants that I wore for about a year, sold to Sully, the guy that sings for Godsmack. And so the first thing I ever had any kind of record as far as heavy metal magazines was him wearing those pants on the cover of a Metal Edge. Just was obsessed with making some pants, and then people saw stuff I was trying to make and they started buying it, and that actually led to working with Clive Barker. So that's on this piece is a design that I did with Clive Barker for an unreleased film that was going to be called 25 Years of Hellraiser. It's going to be a documentary. It's probably 2004 or 5. So we ended up doing this thing together. So for me to come from comics and looking at horror magazines growing up to actually designing something with Clive Barker was pretty amazing. Those influences somehow turned into this grungy fashion stuff. What we got here, this is a Vince Neil kimono. So typically working with Motley Crue, I'll do a couple things and let him choose what he likes. And then that's how I get something for the archives. So the thing that's really crazy about working for Motley Crue, for instance, is that I grew up listening to Shout at the Devil and trying to figure out all the drum parts when I was in high school. The most important thing is you have to trust yourself, You learn how to navigate, I think that better the more stuff that you make. When do you stop working on the song? When is it good? If you overwork something, that kind of loses the energy. So there's that sweet spot, and it's really hard. That's where you have to make sure that you can spend that time, whether it's quiet or loud time, with yourself, where you can get into whatever space it is that you need to get into. Anything else I do to it is ego or fear-driven stuff. If you do stuff long enough, all of a sudden you have a room full of stuff, and then you can show it to other people. You let the universe tell you that, okay, hey, this is done.